Hello, this is Max. In this episode, you will learn how the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster was handled. Also, don't forget to watch the previous episodes. In the previous episodes, we saw the organization of the aftermath of a nuclear power plant explosion. Yelena Kamyuk conducted interrogations of the dying station workers, after which she was imprisoned by her KGB agents. Legasov discussed the extensive measures necessary to contain the disaster, including expanding the exclusion zone, euthanizing animals within it, and building a protective structure around the reactor. Valery Legasov defended Kamyuk, promising to look after her, and she was subsequently released. Legasov assigned Kamyuk to continue investigating the causes of the disaster. Vasily Ignatenko died from a large dose of radiation. At the end of the episode, we see his pregnant wife, Lyudmila Ignatenko, standing near a pit for the burial of deceased firefighters, with their graves being filled with concrete. Don't forget to subscribe. In August 1986, as the evacuation progresses around Chernobyl, an elderly woman defiantly refuses to leave her home, citing her lifelong residency and resilience through past hardships. However, a soldier forcefully removes her after shooting her cow, starkly illustrating the severity of the situation. Meanwhile, in Kiev, Lyudmila, now visibly pregnant, settles into her new apartment, resigned to living alone as she awaits the birth of her child. Legasov and Sherbina talk to General Terekanov about the daunting task of constructing a protective cover over the devastated reactor. They outline the hazardous conditions on the reactor roof, with zones named Katya, Nina, and Masha, each with escalating levels of fatal radiation. To clear the debris from Katya and Nina, they plan to use retrofitted lunar rovers from the Soviet moon landing program. However, the extreme radiation in Masha poses an insurmountable challenge for existing technology. Now, Terekanov is tasked with finding a solution to this critical problem. After this, we see Pavel, a young conscript who arrives at an encampment near the Chernobyl plant, where he's assigned to work with two veterans, Bacho and Andrei, who served in the Afghanistan War. Over vodka, the veterans discuss the severity of the situation, realizing the gravity of recruiting civilians like Pavel. They disclose their duty of euthanizing animals in the exclusion zone, many of which are beloved pets, highlighting the grim reality of their task. Meanwhile, the adapted lunar rovers prove effective in clearing debris from the radioactive zones Katya and Nina. However, the highly irradiated Masha area presents a challenge. Now, General Terekanov proposes a solution using a German bomb disposal robot, despite its origin likely complicating negotiations due to political tensions. Meanwhile, Kamyuk continues her investigation, requesting technical specifications of the RBMK design. However, she receives only one heavily redacted document, raising suspicions of a cover-up. Visiting Dyatlov, who is still in denial, she confronts him with evidence of the reactor's destruction. Dyatlov admits ignorance about potential faults in the reactor design, expressing resignation to state suppression and a predetermined trial outcome, hinting at a systemic cover-up. After this, Kamyuk leaves with more questions than answers but realizes that even experienced insiders like Dyatlov may be unaware of critical information. As Pavel, Bacho, and Andrei head out for their cleanup job, they chat about the tough rules for radiation exposure. Bacho explains that once they reach a certain limit, nobody checks anymore, showing how much they're willing to risk to get the job done. When they get to the abandoned village, Bacho teaches Pavel how to use his gun, but also to do it humanely when it comes to the animals they're supposed to put down. When Pavel has to shoot a dog, he can't do it right, and Bacho has to finish the job. It's tough for Pavel, but Bacho helps him understand it's part of their duty. During a break, Bacho shares his own story of killing, trying to show Pavel that it's something soldiers often have to deal with. Pavel thinks about the big banner nearby that talks about making people happy, but their job feels far from that. Despite the deep thoughts, they know they have to get back to work. By September 1986, the cleanup is going okay, but then the robot they had hoped would help, called Joker, fails quickly on the most dangerous part of the job. Sherbina gets really mad when he finds out that the information given to West Germany is wrong, making things even more difficult. Now they discuss other options, like dropping heavy stuff or using explosive bullets, but none of them seem safe. Finally, they agree that humans will have to do the job, even though it's really risky. Meanwhile, Pavel continues his grim task in yet another village, but just when he thinks it couldn't get any worse, he stumbles upon a mother dog with her newborn puppies. Even Bacho, hardened by his experiences, can't bring himself to ask Pavel to do what needs to be done, so he sends Pavel away while he deals with the situation himself. Pavel walks away feeling numb as the sound of gunshots and cries fills the air. Later, the trio buries a pile of dead animals in a pit, covering it with concrete. In October 1986, General Tarakanov talks to a new group of Biorobots on their dangerous mission. He says that they must go to the roof of Reactor 4 with only 90 seconds to gather and toss as much debris as they can into the reactor core. Then, one of the soldiers is shown, whose face remains unseen, as he struggles to lift the heavy and hazardous debris with his shovel. When the time is up, he finds his foot trapped under a large piece of graphite, delaying his return to safety. Back inside, he discovers a tear in his protective gear, signaling a high level of radiation exposure. Seeing this, the attending officer tells him it's time for decontamination, but the soldier knows that his future is now uncertain, with his health at serious risk. In the next scene, the time shifts to December 1986. Lyudmila finds herself in a park near her apartment in Kiev when she suddenly feels the onset of labor. Before she can seek assistance, she collapses in agony, indicating a serious problem. Meanwhile, in an abandoned schoolhouse in Pripyat, Legasov, Sherbina, and Kamyuk gather secretly to discuss Legasov's upcoming speech at an international conference in Vienna. Kamyuk reveals that the Chernobyl plant management violated safety regulations, likely contributing to the explosion, but she remains uncertain of the exact cause, suspecting a flaw with the AZ5 button. Legasov finally admits knowing about the flaw, which causes the reactor's graphite tips to accelerate the reaction briefly before boron stops it. However, he's been instructed to blame Dyatlov, Bryukhanov, and Fomin, setting the stage for their trial. Now, Kamyuk urges Legasov to tell the full truth to prevent future disasters, even if it risks retaliation from the government. She recounts the tragic death of her newborn baby Lyudmila due to radiation exposure and wonders if a country that allows such tragedies is worth defending. Nearby, the final group of Biorobots completes the debris clearance on the roof, earning commendations from General Tarakanov. Meanwhile, a disillusioned Pavel smokes a cigarette in silence. Then, a Kiev maternity ward is shown, where new mothers embrace their babies. But Lyudmila sits alone by an empty crib, visibly shattered by grief and loss. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen, and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.